The California Apartment Association thinks they figured out why so many laws in California tilt towards tenants over landlords, and nothing they figured out should be a surprise. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of California. So, as I've mentioned many times before, the state of California is one of the least friendly places for landlords in the entire country, if not the least friendly. Now, if you go into specific jurisdictions such as, like San Francisco, California, or Berkeley, these places are even worse than the state overall, right? But the California Apartment Association is a pretty large trade group there for landlords, okay? And they were trying to figure out, well, why what is the reasoning behind all of the laws being so anti-landlord in the state? And a lot of it has to do with the things that I talk about all the time, okay? We're talking about politics in terms of the way people are voting, and we're talking about the number of tenants versus the number of homeowners there are in the state. Now, these two things are large contributing factors of why the landlord laws are so negative in the state, why landlords get treated like such garbage, and why it seems like our property rights are just getting whittled away to nothing. Okay, so it's a really interesting topic. It's not a super long article, but I thought I'd bring it up because it has to do with all the other articles that I'm always finding about all of these new legislation and laws and rules and regulations they're trying to pass in the state. Okay, so the truth of the matter is, when we see these new laws, these new rules, and these new regulations, we know that it's only going to make the matter worse. But the logic of the people putting the laws in place, it says that, oh well, somehow this law is going to make things better, right? But that's all goes back into politics, and politics is what a lot of this has to do with. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Okay, so what do you believe the reason is for so many anti-landlord laws being passed in the state of California? Okay, I mean, I'm just curious what the commenters here believe, and I know everyone is pretty opinionated. I know I've made my opinion many times before, right? But I'm going to reiterate that I think that this is a problem dealing with socialism. Okay, but anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from the California Apartment Association's website, caanet.org, and it says CAA Webinar Spotlight: Why New Laws Keep Tilting in Favor of Tenants. And they're going to continue to tilt in the favor of tenants, and there's going to continue to be more and more laws proposed and passed every single year, and expect the worst. That's what my personal opinion is. But anyway, let's see what the article says. It's a question that persistently puzzles California landlords. Why does the state legislature keep coming at the industry with new landlord tenant laws, and why do they seem so consistently beneficial for renters while detrimental to housing providers? This was one of the many issues tackled at the California Apartment Association's statewide year-end webinar, now available on demand. The panel discussion, led by Association CEO Tom Bannon, explored the demographic and political dynamics at play in California, where changes in the renter population have been mirrored by a legislative body growing increasingly progressive. And yeah, they say that the question puzzles California landlords. I don't think that's the case at all. I think most landlords have a pretty good idea of why these sort of laws keep passing, and why pretty much anything that benefits us is just basically swept under the rug, never hear about it again, and why landlords are demonized. Okay, it's pretty obvious to most people who have been a landlord for any amount of time. Demographic changes and political shifts. As California's renter population has swelled over the past 20 to 25 years, so too has the proportion of Democrats within the state legislature. This simultaneous shift has not gone unnoticed, with many landlords expressing concerns over the increasing number of tenant-friendly laws being passed. CAA's webinar provided a platform to address these concerns, with Deborah Carlton, Executive Vice President, State Public Affairs, presenting data that showcased a legislative body comprising 62 Democrats to 18 Republicans in the Assembly and a supermajority of 32 Democrats in the Senate for the 2023 to 2024 session. Such a majority, Carlton said, significantly affects the types of laws introduced and passed, often tilting in favor of tenants while at the expense of housing providers. And they go into it right there, okay? The Democrats have a supermajority in the state of California. And the Democrats are, their policies, the way that they vote is anti-business as a whole, not just anti-landlord. Okay, we are, what's happening to us is a symptom of what's happening to businesses of all types throughout the entire state. Okay, they are very hard push towards socialism within the state. They don't believe in property rights. They don't like rich people there. They want to tax everyone to death. They want to provide tons of the social services, right, that do not actually do anything other than create a system of dependence. And the problem is, right, when you have a large population of people who are for this sort of thing, who are for all of this social services, all this stuff, right, then you will drive the businesses out of the state. You'll drive the businesses out. You'll drive the multimillionaires out. And it's slowly happening. Believe me, there's still a lot there. They have a ton of money. They have a lot of businesses, but things are accelerating in the recent past, right? And we've seen major businesses leave the state. And, it's just what's happening to landlords. It's a symptom of a system where there is no balance. There is no balance between the conservatives and the progressives. Okay, there is no balance between the Democrats and the Republicans. It's all Democrat. It's all Democratic policy, and the way that they are pushing things, right? It is so unfriendly to property rights. It's unfriendly to business. It's anti-capitalist. It is just complete garbage. Okay, and that is why we are seeing this. And then you might be asking yourself, well, why? Why did the demographics in California change so much, right? And it has to do with the fact that one, okay, they came up with great policies. They wanted to flood the state with illegal aliens. They flooded the state with illegal aliens, and that helped change the voting demographics. I mean, it's pretty obvious that's what happened. And so, when we're talking about people being unable to afford housing in the state, right? Well, that is the reason why there's so many renters. So the more laws they pass to make housing more unaffordable, the more people who are forced into the rental system, the less people who are homeowners, and the less people care about property rights. It's like they are creating their voters with the policies that they are passing. Okay, I'm not saying that this is, like I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. Okay, I'm just looking at the facts. I'm looking at the facts that, hey, when housing is super duper expensive, most people, even who make the median income in the state, they can only afford to rent. Okay, they can't buy a house. So yes, you're forcing people into being renters, and then those renters, they are going to demand more rights. So yeah, they created this problem. If you go to states where there is a much higher percentage of homeowners overall, you're going to see a lot more people who want property rights. They will, they're not going to allow, stuff like rent control and these strong eviction protections to pass, because they know, hey, I might want to be a landlord myself. I want my property rights. Renters' rising influence on policy. Joshua Howard, Executive Vice President, Local Public Affairs, brought to light the fact that in cities like LA, Sacramento, and San Francisco, renters make up more than 60% of the population, a supermajority that has a profound influence on local politics, impacting who gets elected to city council and how council members respond to their constituents. They begin to hear more about issues around affordable housing issues around rental housing, Howard said, indicating that the needs of renters are increasingly dictating the political discourse, particularly in urban locales where their numbers are most dominant. So, yeah, the more renters you have in these super urban areas, the more likely that they're going to be voting for things that are beneficial for them. And the politicians are going to come and, they're going to play the populist card, and they're going to go after hey, how do I get the most votes? Well, if we offer these tenants, if we offer these renters something, they're going to vote for us, something that directly impacts them, even if it is overall a negative for our city, for our state, and for people's property rights. They don't care. Even if it's illegal according to the Constitution, they just want to get reelected. They just want to get voted in, and they will pass anything to make that happen. So, if that, appealing to homeowners, appealing to the people who own property, you're not going to win an election like that because the like they said, the renters, they outnumber the people who own houses. So yeah, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing, and I wish that there was some way to change it, but I've mentioned this many times before. Things are only going to get worse. There's only going to be more people renting going into the future. It's not like all of a sudden these property rights are going to be coming back. No, that's why I say leave. Okay, leave if you want to invest in real estate. You're a small landlord in particular, but it's just not worth the trouble. It's only going to get worse. New laws and ballot measure. While discussing the demographic shift toward a more renter centric population and its implications for policymaking, CAA reaffirmed its nonpartisan stance and commitment to working on both sides of the aisle in its advocacy work. The webinar also reviewed new rental housing laws taking effect in 2024, including legislation setting new limits on security deposits, changing eviction procedures, and giving tenants the right to store e bikes and e scooters in their units. So yeah, they've passed a whole ton of new laws in California, and you know what? I understand why the CAA is sitting there, and they're, of course, they are there. They are on the front lines. They have to fight the good fight. They have to be nonpartisan because if they, focused on like the party that actually would help them out, which is the Republican Party, they would lose every battle. The Republicans are losing. There's no way that they can get anything passed, but by sucking up to the Democrats, who are the supermajority, they're not getting anything done either. So what is the solution? And I don't know what the solution would be. I feel like they're almost the only solution would be a judicial, where you can get away from either party and push something up to the Supreme Court to get some of these laws overturned. I mean, I feel like that's almost the only way you're going to make any real impactful change within the state. But it's kind of a negative story. Okay, it's kind of a negative story because it doesn't offer much hope. Okay, it doesn't offer much hope of things becoming better. And I wish I had better. Like I had hope. I wish I had hope. Like I think California is a beautiful state. I think there's a lot of really good people out there, and I think there's a lot of people who misunderstand the way that the things that are best for the state overall. Like these anti-business laws, they are driving businesses out, and what we're going to end up with is a state where we have more people who are taking from the system, right, than we have people contributing to the system. So it's the great problem of socialist system overall. Eventually you're going to run out of other people's money.